Hello everyone, bringing back another video after a very long time, and do accept my apologies for the same. So today we are going to talk about the carburetors. The carburetor is a really essential component in the pre-BS6 era. It was the only way to get fuel and air into your engine and let it burn so that you can reach your destination. But sometimes this carburetor can be the most troublesome mechanical device that you'll ever encounter. Even small imperfections in this device can lead to some very serious issues. So, since the lockdown has now ended and many are now using their vehicles, they might be witnessing some problems such as delayed starts, engine stalling, etc. Similar thing happened to me. After the lockdown, when I tried to start my scooter, it just refused. And then when it started after numerous attempts, it would stall every time the throttle was released and the scooter was brought at idle. I knew that the carburetor was the culprit over here since it hasn't been cleaned for more than 10,000 kilometers. So once you take the carburetor out of your vehicle, you will have to open it up to clean it well. So let's start by opening the float chamber. As you can see, there are two screws that keep the float chamber attached to the car body. It might differ from carb to carb, but generally there are two screws. Open them up and remove the float chamber. You will see some depositions on the float chamber like here. This should all be cleaned up. Then we need to remove the pin, the float and the float needle. Closely inspect how I am doing it here. The white piece is known as the float. It helps the valve to shut the fuel supply when there is enough fuel in the float chamber for the carb to work with. Significant amount of dust on it could mean that there is added weight and it might not be able to work properly. As a result, fuel might start overflowing and leaking out of your carb. Then comes the float needle. This is the most crucial part. It is a valve which shuts the fuel supply when the float chamber is full. If there is fuel that is leaking from your carb through the drain pipe, then there are pretty good chances that your float pin has gone bad. These little pins do cost a bomb, so maintenance is the key here. Then comes the idle jet and the main jet. The function of the idle jet is to supply the fuel to the carb when you have completely let off accelerator. The main jet, on the other hand, supplies fuel to the carb when you open up your throttle. These two can affect your vehicle's drivability to a great extent. If clogged up, they can cause hard cold starts, frequent stalling and inadequate acceleration. So to make sure we don't have any of that, all we need to do is to timely clean the carb. We need to remove these using a flathead screwdriver and be a little cautious since these are made of brass and can be easily damaged with steel. So now you can clearly see how dirty the jets are. When you open up these jets, you should inspect them for any blockage in the holes. As you can see, the holes are perfectly clean here and we can see through them. So that means my main jet was good from inside. If you find any sort of blockage, then make sure to clean it as it will affect your acceleration. Now let's move to the idle jet. The idle jet here required a bit more force to be removed since there was debris which was making it a bit difficult to remove. You can see the idle jet has a lot of debris. The holes on these are clogged up as well. No doubt this was the reason behind frequent stalling of the scooter. Next, we need to open up the sensor assembly from the carb. This is a sensor that signals your scooter for giving out better performance at higher acceleration inputs. We will need a Phillips head screwdriver to remove it. There are two screws holding this to the carb body. Remove this and you will find a rubber seal. Remove this carefully, and if you find it damaged, then you might want to replace this as this might leak fuel. Also notice that I haven't removed the air fuel mixture screw and the idle screw. This is because I wasn't comfortable in removing them since this requires a lot of precision when setting back in. Then we need to remove the choke and the choke plate. A single Phillips screw is what we need to remove, and then we will remove the screw on the choke plate. This step is completely optional, and if you are not comfortable opening this, you can completely skip this. The choke plate can be cleaned without opening as well. I decided to open it up because I wanted to clean the shaft as well. Remove all the gaskets carefully. If they are stuck, then don't apply too much force, as then it might break and you might have to replace these. Now let's start cleaning the carb. We'll be using a paintbrush along with petrol for cleaning this carb. If you want, you can use a dedicated carb cleaner available on Amazon. I'll be sure to list them in the description. If your carb is very clogged, way more than mine, then you might want to use those carb cleaners, as those will perform a far better job than the normal petrol brush job. You can use a needle to clean the jets if they are way too much clogged. Now comes the easiest part. Let us assemble it all back. Assembling the carb is the easiest part. You can hardly go wrong with it. When tightening up the main jet and the idle jet, be sure not to use them as your workout material. As I mentioned before, these are made up of brass and can easily get damaged. Finding them and replacing them is definitely not worth a shot. And that's how you service your carb. I hope the video was helpful, and if it was, consider giving a thumbs up and a subscribe to this channel. Thank you.